Social Justice Paladin, episode 20, My Military Career. This will be episode 3 of 5, A Change of Career. We'll be starting at Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas, which will run from about March 1992 to August 1992. Now, Intel School at that time was a 5-month tech school, as I was retraining from electronic warfare to intelligence analyst and waiting for my updated security clearance. Most of my free time while I was at San Angelo was spent at the chapel next door to the barracks. I played keyboards for the 11 a.m. evangelical service and then later at the Black Gospel service. I also worked in the summer vacation Bible school for the kids, which were a lot of fond memories. One sad incident while I was there. I was in the running for honor roll during tech school, but then on the last exam, I accidentally moved the answer card over just a notch, and I wound up missing about 5 questions in a row. It wasn't enough to fail, but it was enough to kick me from the second spot to the fourth spot in class standings. And when it was formally announced, I was hopping mad. I won't go into too much detail here for her sake, but during this time, I met my current wife of 28 years at the chapel there in San Angelo. She's been with me ever since, along with my second oldest daughter. After graduating from Intel School, I drove back to Keesler Air Force Base to gather my belongings, and then it was off to my first base of a brand new career. Wheeler Army Airfield / Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii, August 1992 to August 1995. Since we weren't married yet, when I got to Hawaii, I was in the barracks at Wheeler Army Airfield, which was a historic holdover from World War II. It was conveniently close to Field Station Kania, and it was right across the street from Schofield Barracks, which was an Army base also from World War II. Everything here was historic, but extremely well maintained. After she and I were married, we moved on base together at Hickam, and that's where our second son was born at Tripler. Now, the worst part about a new job was that I was assigned as a staff sergeant to a senior airman who was my trainer. This, of course, fed his ego, and he took no small pleasure calling me his Jeep sergeant. I put up with it for a while because I didn't want to piss him off, and thus shutting off my flow of information. But eventually I'd had enough, and I cornered him, and I told him that even if he didn't respect me as a person, he was required to respect my rank. We had a pretty good balance after that, and we were good friends by the end of the tour. Being in the intel field, there's not much I can say about the job itself. The old joke is, I can't tell you, or I'd have to kill you. But then I could hint around for a little bit and then slug you in the arm afterwards. Being in Hawaii out in the middle of the ocean, the unclassified mission was that we were an emergency direction finding post for fishing vessels out in the Pacific. This was obviously before GPS became popular. We also provided a communications link to U.S. aircraft over the Pacific. That is when we weren't eating too much lokomoko, lomi salmon, kimchi, and kalua pork, of course. It was during this duty station that I was deployed to the desert for the first time. I had volunteered for duty at Dhahran Air Base, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. One interesting incident at Dhahran involved pistachios. There was this guy that roamed the base with a handcart, and he sold nuts, almonds, shelled and unshelled pistachios, peanuts. But I caught up with him on my way back from the gym one day, and I looked his wares over. Being in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, his prices were in kilograms. So I was doing the math in my head, and I couldn't remember if it was 2.2 pounds to the kilo or was it 2.2 kilos to the pound, and so I just blurted out, okay, give me 4 kilos. His eyes got real wide, and he goes, okay, and he pulls out a grain scoop. I had figured backwards. So now I had about 10 pounds of pistachios that lasted me the whole rest of my deployment, even after mailing a lot of it home. Also, Dhahran was where I had experienced the worst shift schedule of my 20-year career. There were 3 of us intel troops, but it was a 24/7 operation. That meant we worked 6 days, 12-hour shifts with a full 24 hours off, and then flip to the opposing shift, work 6 more 12-hour shifts, and then work a half day, swap rotations, and repeat for 4 solid months. Who has time to eat pistachios? By the way, does the name Kobar Towers ring a bell to you? I was in Dahran Air Base in support of Operation Southern Watch, and I was already back in Hawaii when the Khobar Towers bombing happened. It was just a couple of months before I was due to PCS, which would have been June 1996. Needless to say, when I heard the news on the radio on my way home from work, I had to pull off to the side of the road just to compose myself. I was just a couple of months shy of being involved in the largest terrorist attack up to that point. Two off-duty things that I did when I was in Hawaii were playing golf. The golf courses in Hawaii were lush and stunning and cheap for active duty military, and I conducted the local chorale when Colonel Carla Bass was the squadron commander. She loved music, loved Barry Manilow, and she organized a choir for special events and holidays. You remember how I said earlier that I always got my first choice when it came time for new assignments? Well, this next time was an exception. About 3 years into the assignment, you start looking for orders to your next assignment. So when I got my orders, 90 or so days before permanent change of station, or PCS, I got my orders for Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska. I wandered around to my intel buddies, wondering, okay, who did I piss off? They thought I was just being funny. And I was told that Alaska was one of the best kept secrets in the Air Force. Ooh, it's right next to Alyeska Ski Resort in southern Alaska. It's a more temperate part of the states, and there's lots of hunting and salmon fishing and snowmobiling and outdoor fun for the entire family. Unfortunately for those who are keeping score of my base locations, I had not even seen temperatures below 70 degrees in close to 10 years. All my friends thought I was nuts, and I almost turned the assignment down. Next episode, North to Alaska.